music played soft. Violin in the corner, white roses on every seat, satin aisle runner, and a crowd too pretty to cry. But he wasn't looking at the flowers, wasn't listening to the music. He was watching her, standing across from him, in a dress that cost 5 paychecks, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, and hands that trembled, just enough for him to see it, just enough for him to feel it. Something was wrong. Something was off. His name was Julian. Westdot 25. Mechanic. Worked 2 jobs and a weekend hustle. Didn't come from money, didn't come from much, but he knew what loyalty looked like, what love was supposed to feel like. He'd been with Sarah 5 years, through her schooling, through her depression, through her family drama, job losses, the miscarriage they never told anyone about. He'd held her hand through storms. Now he was supposed to say, "I do," under the sun, but the sun felt cold, because that morning he found the letter. It was in her closet, tucked behind a shoebox, folded 3 times, unmarked envelope. He wouldn't have opened it, but it fell when he was looking for her bracelet, the one her grandma gave her, the one she swore she wanted to. Where down the aisle, the letter wasn't addressed to him, but the words inside, they sliced clean through his chest. I know he's not the father, but I can't tell him. Not now. Not when everything's finally perfect. He read it 3 times, sat on the floor, pressed his palms to his face, breathed in slow. Because he knew. He knew. She was talking about the miscarriage, their baby, the one he mourned, the one he blamed himself for not protecting. But it wasn't his. Never was. And she lied. Not just once, not just then, but every time she let him believe they were a family, every time she cried in his arms and said, "We'll try again." So now he stood at the altar, ring in pocket, tears in his throat, crowd silent, priest smiling. And the question came. Julian West, do you take Sarah to be your lawfully wedded wife? He took a breath, looked her dead in the eyes and said no. Gasps, like wind through dry leaves. Her mouth opened, closed, tried to speak, but he cut her off, pulled the letter from his coat, held it high like a verdict, and read it, word for word, voice shaking, hands steady, heart shattered. The room didn't just go silent. It froze, like time itself was ashamed. She collapsed, right there in front of the altar, sobbing, shaking, but he didn't hold her, didn't move. He just whispered, "You should have told me." He walked out, didn't look back, didn't stop when her mother screamed, didn't flinch when her father lunged. He kept walking, straight out the chapel, straight into the storm that was coming. Because sometimes, truth costs more than silence. The dress was still white, but now it was stained with truth, mascara on lace, tears on silk, and the room they called a chapel felt more like a courtroom. Gasps turned to murmurs, murmurs turned to judgment, and judgment? That turned to shame. But it didn't hit him, it hit her, hard. She sat on the floor, clutching her chest like maybe if she held tight enough, the lie would stay inside. But it was out, and there was no stuffing it back. Julian didn't stop walking. His feet moved like they knew where to go. Even if his mind didn't, he passed the flower arch, the doves in the cage, the cake with their names. Carved in frosting, he saw the gift table, all those wrapped hopes, cash envelopes, good luck cards, lies on top of lies. He walked past it all until he found his car, old rusty, paid for in sweat and sacrifice. He sat inside, alone, in silence, and screamed, not out loud, not with his voice, but with everything else, with fists pounding. The steering wheel, with breath that came too fast, with eyes that refused to stay dry. How could she? After all that time, all those nights he stayed up with her, the therapy appointments, the hospital visits, the way she cried in his lap like the world was ending, and he promised it wouldn't. Promised he'd never leave her side. He kept that promise. But she never made hers. His phone buzzed over and over. Mom, dad, friends, cousins, even her little sister. He didn't answer, couldn't. What do you say after walking out of your own wedding? What words even exist for that? But then, one call came through he couldn't ignore. His best man, Eli, the one who knew him since grade school, the one who picked him up from his first heartbreak and drove him to every job interview when his car broke down, he answered. Didn't say hello, didn't need to. Eli's voice came through soft. You okay? Julian didn't lie. No, pause. Silence thick. Then you want to talk? No. Another pause. Then Eli said something he hadn't heard all day. I'm proud of you. Julian broke right there, on speakerphone. Tears, raw and loud this time. No audience, no crowd. Just a brother in every way but blood. I loved her, man. I know. I was going to spend my life with her. I know. And now? Eli didn't rush to respond. Didn't try to fix it. Didn't offer empty lines. Just said, now you start over. Back at the chapel, Sarah still sat, shoulders shaking. Guests began to scatter, some out of shame, some out of discomfort, some just because they didn't know how to be human in moments like this. Her father stood by the altar, stone-faced. Her mother whispered, "We'll fix it, baby." But Sarah, she knew this wasn't something you fix. This wasn't spilled wine or a cracked plate. This was a rupture, a soul split open, and all the good intentions in the world couldn't sew it shut. She clutched the letter, the one Julian had read, her own. Handwriting felt foreign now, like someone else had written it, a past version of her, a coward, a girl too scared to tell the man she loved that the baby they lost wasn't his because she had made a mistake, a one-time, never-meant-to-happen kind of mistake, with an ex who came back around at the worst time. She thought it didn't matter, thought the lie would protect them, but lies are walls made of paper and truth is fire. She went home alone, sat in the bedroom they'd filled with wedding decorations, the dried flowers, the Mr. and Mrs. sign, the ring box still open on the dresser, and she cried, the kind of crying that makes your ribs sore, the kind that steals your breath because she didn't just lose a wedding, she lost him. Meanwhile, Julian drove, nowhere specific, just away. He ended up at the auto shop he worked at, pulled into the back, sat in the quiet and thought about how love isn't always enough, about how trust is a fragile thing. And once it breaks, sometimes it never comes back. But even in that storm of betrayal, there was a small, stubborn part of him that still remembered the good. The way she laughed when he sang off-key in the kitchen, the way she used to trace circles on his hand when they sat in traffic, the way she said, "Thank you," after every home-cooked meal. That version of her felt real, but so did the version who wrote that letter. So which one was she, the angel he loved, or the liar he left? Maybe both. Maybe that's what made it hurt so bad. He didn't sleep that night. Neither did she. Two people, miles apart, but drowning in the same ocean of regret, of memory, of what-ifs. And then morning came, and with it, a knock on Julian's door. Not hard, not loud, but familiar. He opened it, and there she was. He stared at her, in that doorway, same face, same eyes, same woman, but something was different now. She wasn't glowing. She was grey, like grief had drained all the color. She didn't speak, just stood there, holding the letter, the same letter that blew their life apart. "I shouldn't be here," she said, voice barely above a whisper, "but I needed to look you in the face one last time." Julian didn't move, didn't open the door all the way, didn't invite her in, but he didn't slam it shut either, because some ghosts you don't get to banish, not until they finish speaking. She stepped forward. "I was going to tell you after the honeymoon, after the ceremony, after everything settled." He cut her off with just a look, that look, the kind that says, "Don't lie to me again." Her throat clenched, tears formed. She nodded slowly. "Okay. I wasn't going to tell you. I thought if you didn't know, then maybe it wouldn't matter. Maybe the love would be enough to forget." Julian turned away, hands in fists. "I gave you everything," he said, "everything, And she knew he wasn't talking about money or time or flowers and dates. He gave her his heart, whole, unguarded, open, and she handed it back with a crack down the middle. "I didn't cheat on you," she said, "and I know that doesn't matter now, but I need you to hear it. It happened. Before we got serious again, I didn't know I was pregnant until we were already planning the wedding." He looked at her, eyes rimmed red, voice steady. "So why write the letter?" She swallowed, shook her head, because the guilt was louder. Then the lie, silence, heavy, sharp. Then he stepped aside, let her in. She crossed the threshold, back into the space that was almost hers, and they sat, two people once in love, now sitting in the ashes. He asked the questions, she answered, every single one. No dodges, no excuses, just truth. Ugly, naked, honest. It hurt, more than he thought possible, but something strange happened. Each truth she spoke was like draining poison. The wound still burned, but at least it stopped spreading. "You should hate me," she whispered. He looked up. "I don't." She blinked. Tears rolled. "But I don't know if I'll ever love you the same." That broke her, not because he was cruel, but because he was right. Trust isn't a light switch. You can't just flick it back on. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it never returns. She stood, pulled off the ring, laid it gently on the table. "I won't beg. I just wanted you to see me. Not the liar, not the bride. Just me, Sarah, flawed, foolish, but real." And she walked out, this time with no dress, no veil, no applause, just silence and closure. Weeks passed. Julian went back to work, fixing engines, solving problems that didn't lie. People asked. He shrugged. She made a mistake. That's all he'd say. Some told him to move on. Some told him to forgive. But grief isn't a group project. You carry it how you need to. And then, one day, a letter came from her. No begging, no poems, no dreams of what was. Just a note, simple, raw, final. "Thank you for not destroying me. Thank you for letting me fall with dignity. I'm working on myself now. I don't expect you to wait. I just hope you don't stop believing in love, even if it wasn't mine." He read it once, then again, then one more time. And finally, he smiled, not because he was over it, but because he wasn't broken. He survived the lie. He walked out when it hurt most. He chose himself, and for the first time in months, he felt peace. Sometimes love ain't enough. Sometimes truth doesn't. Save the story. It shatters it, but walking away, that ain't weakness, that's courage with scars. That's what real strength looks like. You don't have to stay just because you said yes. You don't have to sacrifice your soul to keep the fantasy alive. If they lied to you, if they broke you, if they made you question your worth, then walking out is not quitting, it's reclaiming. And healing doesn't always end in reunion. Sometimes it ends in peace.